They were.
Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York, and I'm joined by my two very close friends, Ray Clifford, who's out in Marysville, Ohio, Ralph Sharega, who's up in Massachusetts, right outside of Boston, in beautiful, what's the town again, Ralph?
Beautiful downtown Belmont.
Belmont, which I spent a wonderful summer there.
That's right, on Oakley Avenue.
That's right, great place. I twisted my ankle jogging up there one time by the River Reservoir.
Oh my God.
But anyway, the Jets had their first preseason game. They won 20-17 over the Washington Commanders. Like all preseason games, it was a yawner. There was some very good, I thought, things that I took out of the game. I just want to comment on them, and then I'll get your reaction. I actually think, and I know I'm not getting too excited, just like you guys. I know Ray likes to call me overreaction Marty, but I actually think we have the most talent we've had in about 12 years right now. It's still early. Anything could happen, but as far as the game goes, and we look for individual plays, individual talent, though, and I mentioned to Ralph before, and Ray, you know, I've been on this for years. The preseason media is awful. They do these sideline interviews when I want to see replays, and it just drives me crazy. I mean, you know, when I see a guy like Leonard Taylor go through and get a sack, I want to see it from the beginning in slow motion. Did he get touched? What did he do? And we didn't see that on the first one, but I want to point out a few players that stood out to me. I thought the best player in the field was Jarek Bernard Converse, JBC as they call him, and he's the guy from LSU that had a redshirt season last year. I thought he was outstanding. I thought Adrian Martinez played well, the quarterback. He made two incredible passes. He had another nice pass that Lance McCutcheon, he just dropped. Leonard Taylor, and Ralph said it earlier, this guy's a find. I'm telling you, you're going to see him move up on the depth charts. Forget about this guy Watts as far as I'm concerned. This guy's a real deal. Braylon Allen, I thought he had a great game. Two beautiful runs. He's a very, very good number two back. Again, this is just preseason. We'll see. Olu Fashanu, the offensive lineman. I try to pay attention to offensive lineman. He was outstanding. With that said, though, I'll tell you, I was watching Carter Warren and not impressed at all with him. And the other player was a guy that stood out for us was this receiver, Brandon Smith, that caught two of the passes from Adrian Martinez. And I just want to mention, too, not a knock on the first quarterback, Andrew Peasley. He played very well. But to me, it just looked like this Adrian Gonzalez is more talented.
Martinez,
I'm sorry. Oh, Adrian Martinez?
Yeah, Gonzalez is the baseball player.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
Close.
Who the Yankees forever will hate.
Yeah, that's right. But I thought he looked better, and you know, Peasley made a gorgeous fade pass to Brown in the left corner. Brownlee. So I just want your reaction, and it doesn't matter if you didn't see much of the game, just on some of the highlights. So Ralph, why don't you start?
Well, another thing that annoys me about preseason games is so many times they won't tell you who makes the tackle, you know, and because you can't see numbers that much, they're moving so fast, and you don't know all the numbers. So anyway, yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, Marty. We'll get into deeper dive with, especially with Brandon Smith and Adrian Martinez. We have this quarterback controversy now with him and Peasley. Obviously, they're going to have to carry, you know, one of them because Jordan Travis is not going to be available.
Did we look at with that? To me, that was like the best pick. Isn't that perfect? He's going to have a redshirt season. He'll just carry a clipboard.
Learn, you know, get used to he'll still practice with the guys, I'm sure, quite a bit as the year goes along, and get used to the whole NFL game. And yeah, there's no pressure on him. There's no worry from Jet fans to scream to get him on the field or anything. I love it. I'm glad he's got a year to learn.
Right. Okay, go ahead, Ralph.
So, Braylon Allen's a guy who I loved at Wisconsin. And, I heard people bitching about, why you don't draft a running back. That I think fourth round is an appropriate place to draft a running back. And that was late fourth round.
In honor of Leon Washington.
Yeah. And the thing about Braylon Allen that I obviously didn't watch him or watch clips of him in colleges, that he's very light on his feet and he has really good vision. He's not just a battering ram. In fact, I think he's more of a finesse runner, but and they want him to lower his pads more, and he will. But I think he's really talented, and I think they're suddenly, I feel a lot more comfortable. Every time Breece Hall goes into a pile, you're just praying he's not holding his knee, like any running back can get injured. Because, when he got injured a couple of years ago, we went from, a great runner to nothing. And now we have some depth there. And as you said, Marty, we have depth in a lot of places. Cornerback, we'll talk about that depth now. So I agree with you. There's a lot of talent on this team. It's just a matter of, whether it's going to reflect in games.
Right. And Ray, I just want your reaction. I know you didn't see a lot of the game, but your reaction to the talent on the team right now. And I want to ask you too, a second part of that. On offensive snaps, I want, like Ray Clifford's estimate, what percentage you think Olu Fashanu is going to play this year? So give me a reaction to the talent on the team, and what do you think about Olu Fashanu and how many snaps he's going to play?
Well, first, I agree with you on the talent level of the team as a whole is probably the best we've seen since the mid-teens, when we had that really good offensive line that was together for years. But I think that's the main difference. I mean, we have some talent. Obviously, we've added depth, we've added guys, so I like that on other positions. But the offensive line to me is the one that's showing that possibly it's not just improved, but it's going to be a big factor in how this team does. And I think we've made a huge upgrade there from what we can see so far. But
and Fashanu, what percentage?
Fashanu, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little over 50%, 50 to 60 by the end of the year.
Wow, really?
Maybe more, depending on health. Because if Tyron Smith's not playing, let's say 3 or 4 games, that's going to be a number of snaps there. You got to figure he'll be in that. So, yeah, the year as a whole, I could see him doing easily 50, 60%.
Yeah, I would have said about 35 to like 45, but I'll take that 50.
Marty, what did the Commodores, I was about to say Redskins, they played their starters the first series or two? I know McLaurin was in there, and if somebody on defense too, because Fashanu, I think, was going up against starters for the first series.
I believe he was too.
Yeah, the offensive line didn't do that badly.
Right.
Only Tittman was the only starter that was there. So so that was very encouraging.
It's funny, and we got to get to. I know, Ralph, I skipped over. You have a classic trivia question. But my only worry is what part of the Jet game this year. Do you guys want to take a guess?
Well, I mean, to me, it's the offensive line.
No, it's not even that, Ray.
Linebackers?
No, I'm almost drinking the Kool-Aid, as Ralph says. Defensive line. I'm just nervous.
Well, let's get Hassan Reddick in camp, and then
that's what I wanted. We'll get into that too, but it's the only part of the team now that's making me a little bit nervous.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I mean, nobody played yesterday except Will McDonald on a few snaps.
No, yeah, you guys could, in the course of the next 2 weeks, could talk me off the bridge. But Ralph, let's get to the classic trivia, because that's why a lot of these fans listen to our show.
Well, it's the only reason I come on the show, really. You wouldn't have me otherwise. So since this is preseason, and yesterday we had our new August combination of Martinez to Smith, which reminds me of a great combination we had in August of 2007. Who were the quarterback and the wide receiver involved there? You probably remember them. And the second question is the quarterback that quarterback was involved in a very, very famous Jets trade. The Jets used him in a trade. And
I can't think of his name, but I know exactly who it is.
yeah,
I'm already out.
I remember.
Ray's out already. Oh my gosh.
You know, Ray's, you know, he's the
Well,
truth.
Marty already had us an award that's named after.
Oh, yeah, we have an
That's what I
award
thought.
named after one of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm lost. I didn't.
So do you want us to answer it now? We'll come back.
Yeah, talk about it. Yeah. It's,
So, well, obviously, David Clowney, and it
Yeah.
was the quarterback that led the preseason.
he hit him on like 270-yard bombs in that
Yes.
game. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Go ahead, Ray.
You remember his name,
I
Ray?
had forgotten the receiver. I was thinking it's Brett Ratliff.
Brett
Right?
Ratliff.
Yes, Brett Ratliff. And Brett
Yeah.
Ratliff was in what trade? What
That's
trade
what
was
I
he?
forgot about. Was it?
I remember there was a big trade, but I forgot what it was too. I remember reading about it.
Well,
Cleveland?
Was it to move
Oh,
for Sanchez?
Braylon Edwards?
no, it's for Sanchez. Yeah.
Sanchez, yeah.
Yeah, that trade, interesting enough, the Jets moved up from like 17 to 5 or 6. This was when Mangini, I think, threw them a favor when he was in Cleveland. And to do that, they gave their first round pick, which was 17, a second round pick, and 3 guys: Brett Ratliff, Abram Elam, and some other guy who was a nobody. In this day and age, if you move up from 17 to 6, you're talking 2, maybe 3
Right.
first-round draft picks. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they got Sanchez, and he faded quickly, but he gave us 2 great playoff runs.
Yeah. That's a good question. All right, Ralph, you have down on the agenda the thoughts on the joint scrimmage and preseason game with Washington. I'm going to start. I think this is going to be what I see the trend of the future. They're going to go to 18 games. So I foresee now when they do that, like the week, and I'm assuming the Jets will probably keep Philly and Giants as the 2 preseason games. The week they play them on Tuesday and Thursdays, they're going to have the inter-squad scrimmage. They'll have a day off on Wednesday, a day off on Friday before the real preseason game. But I think this is going to be the thing of the future in the NFL when they go to 18 games. And I kind of like it. I mean, apparently it was pouring rain out there, and I didn't realize fans were allowed out there. That's something that I would have might have gone out to. So
I think they sold that out real fast. And and to go to the Giants practice, you have to be a season ticket holder. So
Oh, really? You do?
Yeah.
And the one thing I'll say too, it's just I don't want what's his name? Garrett to look that good. He looked ridiculous in the scrimmage. I just tone it down a little bit, I just don't want him to look that good. So that's my thoughts on it. How about you, Ray?
I'm not big, not that preseason games matter to me, but I just think they're whittling down the preseason so much that I think we're going to see more injuries than already we have. I like them to get some more contact in before the season starts. I think that's to me a big reason why a lot of teams do start out slow, and I think it's a lot of reason for some of these injuries, and I think it's a lot of reason why Baltimore is, always playing so well right off the bat because John Harbaugh goes out and tries to win every preseason game and plays it like it's like it counts, and I think with the shortened amount of practices and everything, I think that's actually a better way to go about it.
Okay, how about you, Ralph?
Well, I think it will go in that direction. I don't want to lose all the preseason games because then you never find guys like Victor Cruz and Robbie Anderson, and they'd never get a chance because teams will stick with the guys that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Or maybe this kid Brandon Smith, who we'll talk about in a little while later in the show. So I think that's important. And the other thing, in relation to this topic, which I mentioned, is the fact that a lot of teams in the NFL this week did play their starters for a couple of drives, and the Jets did not. And I wonder, you get your guys' opinions on whether you were on Salah's side to not play them, or did you think that he should have played as starters for a drive or two?
I would have liked the possession, to be honest with you. And, just tell the quarterback, just get rid of it. If nothing's open, just eat the ball or just go down or whatever. But I would have liked to seen him for like a series. That's my thoughts. Ray?
I didn't think it was a big deal. I'd rather, if you're going to play him, play him for a few series. To me, if you go in and play 3 or 4 plays, I don't think it's accomplishing very much at all. I'd rather see him, okay, you're going to play the first quarter. And if you don't play it in the first game, the second game's okay with me, but give him some, I don't want him to get too much on. I don't mind that he's not playing Rodgers, but I want some of these other guys on the field a little more for, a meaningful
Right.
days. But so I think if he does play him, to play him 2 or 3 series where you get almost a quarter in would be
Yeah.
my preference.
And as Ralph and I were talking, they played Joe Tippmann a couple of series, and I don't know if that was punishment because of his high snaps or they just wanted him to.
Well, I think they played pretty much all of their second-year guys that they drafted last year. McDonald played a little,
Right.
Bernard Converse, Zaire Barnes, Carter Warren, Izzy. So I think that was just the fact that they were all just second-year guys, and he wanted them to get more time. Tippmann was fine. I watched the replays and kept doing slow motion. He's fine. I'm not worried about him.
Now we're down to 3 preseason games, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess they play Carolina, then they play the Giants.
Right.
So if they were to play the starters, let's say for a quarter or a half, which game would it be? Would it be the second or third game?
I'm guessing the third game because there's a week. Isn't there a week bye between the third game and the beginning of the season?
Probably is. Yeah.
So that's my guess, because the third game would actually be what the fourth game used. Well, yeah, I mean
well, they
would
used
be
to
like this. Which was the game?
They play the third game and
third
then
game, the fourth, but they didn't have the bye, I guess.
Right.
But now they have the bye. Oh, okay, Ray, and your thoughts too on that? I mean, well, there's no really.
I mean, yeah, since like you said, since there's the bye, I don't want him having 2 weeks of not playing. So I think the third game would make more sense most time. But I'd like to see him get him in there for, a series or 2 still in this game coming up.
Okay, and by the way, I don't know.
Including Rodgers or not including Rodgers?
I don't think Rodgers will see the field at all. I'll be surprised if he does anything. But if he does, I would say one series and they'd probably be okay.
Boy, talk about bubble wrap. I by the time we get to the regular season, I think Sal's going to be going, I'm afraid to even put him in the regular season.
He'll put him down for 2 he'll take him out after the second down, Ralph,
Yeah.
Ralph, you know Robbie Anderson signed with the 49ers.
I just saw a clip of him with Tampa Bay and so he's on the 49ers now.
We're going to see him the first game, yeah. And I guess they signed him as they were negotiating with Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
So that I guess
he changed his name though, didn't he?
It's chosen. Yeah, he's chosen now.
No, he changed it back, I think.
Robbie.
No, he's unchosen. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he's going to call himself Prince. I don't know.
Right. All right. Ralph calls this segment the Kool-Aid test. We're going to name some guys who, and if any of these guys are you drinking the Kool-Aid for? And I guess the Kool-Aid equals the hype that's going on that we've been hearing.
Yep.
I'll start with Ray. Ray, are you drinking the Kool-Aid for Jamie and Sherwood?
No.
Okay.
You got to show it when it counts. I mean, it's great that he's looking like a stud in practices and things, but let me see it in real time.
Okay.
How many years? Is this his third or fourth year with the team? I've lost track.
At least third. Maybe it is
third year. Remember, he tore his Achilles.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's one of these guys who just has a good press agent. He just gets good press. He and Tony Adams.
Those 2 guys. It's incredible. Okay, Ralph, how about you, Jamie and Sherwood?
No, I'm not ready yet. The Jets, Salah's got these pets that he just loves to promote, and even though they haven't done a whole lot. Anyway, they're raving about his pass coverage. The guy was a safety in college. I would hope he could cover a little better than the average linebacker.
Right. Okay, I agree with both views. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on Jamie Sherwood. I'll start next. Jared Bernard Converse, I hate to do it because you haven't seen him in regular season, but just like Ralph has a feeling about Stiggers, I got a feeling about this guy, just watching his technique. And I know it wasn't against the first team for the whole game, but his positioning was so good, even on that long pass, that I will drink the Kool-Aid on JBC. Ralph?
Yeah, I'll have a couple of gulps on JVC. I'll tell you, I think it was a brilliant move to move him to corner at power. I don't know who actually thought of that, but whoever did, I give him kudos.
Yep. And I think he's got Ralph. What is his measurements? Is he 6'1"?
I think he's got decent size and he runs a fast 40, whether that translates to football speed or not. But yeah, he's got some good measurables.
Okay. Ray, how about you?
No, not ready.
Yeah, good.
Just
Ray's a tough crowd, Ralph. He's
Yeah.
Good. We need someone to balance our
can't.
stupidity.
I don't. He may end up in the David Clowney category at this point. It's too early
Yeah.
to say. So I'm that way on a couple of them. But yeah, I'm hopeful. Like you say, he looked good. But let's see where it goes from here.
okay, Ray, we'll start with you. What about Will McDonald? Drink the Kool-Aid on him?
I am because I think I don't think he's like going to be all world, but I think he's going to make a significant step. I think he's already shown he's learning some moves with that spin move that got him whatever that penalty was. It was anything but roughing, but okay. If we see some more of that out of him during the season, I think we're going to see quite a presence out of him. So I'm drinking it right now.
I'm gonna chime in. I agree with you. I like him. I know Cimini wrote that, 11 plays, he didn't do anything. He had a great sack that they made a bad call on that for roughing the pass. It was a beautiful spin move, but I like Will McDonald. I think he makes the jump. Ralph?
Numbers can be deceiving. I don't know. Samini, he can be a nattering nabob of negativism. He was in for 11 plays. Only 5 were passes. 1 was a screen. 1 was a rollout the other way. So there were only like 2 or 3 opportunities for him to legitimately put on pressure, and he got 1. So I loved McDonald coming out of college. I think his role is going to basically be what Bryce Huff's was the last few years. He'll be a specialty guy on passing downs, and I think he'll get more. Bryce Huff's first 2 years, people think he's the greatest things in slice. So his first 2 years, he had 2 sacks each year. He looked like an interesting player, but I guarantee you McDonald will get more than 2 sacks this year.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't think he'll be a star like you said this year, but I think he will be a productive player for them.
Ralph, what about Braylon Allen? Why don't you start?
Yeah, I definitely, I'm a fan of his. I liked him in college, and nothing has changed. And I think he's really going to be a valuable player for the team this year.
Ray?
Yeah, I am too. Ralph convinced me after we drafted him to kind of pay more attention to him. And what I saw is, like Ralph said, he's not just a guy who's going to hammer guys. He's can make some moves. He can do things. I think he's a good change of pace to Breece Hall because he can be whatever they need him to be. He can be the guy who lowers his shoulder. He can be the guy who can make some moves and get some extra yards that way too. So I'm really impressed so far, and I think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on him.
Yeah, I am too. He looked good. One of my favorites was, it went kind of under the radar. He did pick up a nice blitz one play, which was good to see. And the announcer, thank God, he mentioned, I guess it was Anthony Beck, who took over for Marty Lyons.
Yeah.
Who I think, not knowing a lot of how he does it, I still think it's a plus. We'll have to give him a chance and see what he does. I'll start Alan Lazard. I keep going back and forth with him. I'm going to say I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid yet. Okay, everyone is saying he's having a very, very good preseason, but I'm not convinced yet too. And I like receivers that get open. And I question a guy that has trouble getting open and has trouble holding on to the ball, though he's having.
Other than that, though, he's good.
Yeah, it's like other than how was the play, Mrs.
Nobody
Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid on him. How about you, Ray? Alan?
I'm gonna, here comes the lawyer aspect. I'm gonna drink it as long as Rodgers is on the field. I think he'll show a big improvement, but I don't trust him with any other quarterback at this point. So do I think he'll have a way more productive year than last year with Rodgers? I do. I really, and maybe Tyrod Taylor, but I haven't seen enough of him working with him to know how he is with him. But I think there's a comfort level with Rodgers, and Rodgers, I think for the most part, throws a really catchable ball. So I think I think he'll make a big improvement. So I'm drinking it for now.
Okay. And Ralph, you gave me your answer, right?
Not with Lazard. I agree with Ray. I think Rodgers will lift his game. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, though. I don't think, I don't expect big things from him, but maybe solid. A little, yeah. You can't be worse than last year. So he's got a very low bar to.
Right. What about Leonard Taylor, Ralph?
Leonard Taylor, there's no question this guy's physical talent. I mean, whatever it was that caused him to have a bad year last year, whether it was a personality thing, something with the coaching staff, or an injury, I don't know. But yes, I think if this guy, if all other things are go, this guy is talented and he's going to be a starter for the team in a year or so. So I am going to drink the Kool-Aid. I don't know how much time he'll get this year, but I think down the line, this guy is going to be a stud.
All right, Ralph, they can't hide him on the practice squad, right?
I don't think so. He was one of the most highly sought after undrafted free agents.
Well, here's the old questioning. I think we asked this over the summer. If it came down to Michael Clemens or Leonard Taylor, what do you do?
Well, I mean, I think that's still up in the air, but I think Taylor's going to, by the end of training camp, if it has to be one of those two, it'll be Taylor. But who knows if there's an injury or whatever, but maybe they keep an extra guy. But I would say Taylor over Clemens.
Okay. Ray, what about you?
Kind of the same as Bernard Converse. I'm not drinking it yet. I want to see more. I mean, he's another one that I'm hopefully, so far he looks like, he definitely fit both this defense and just, a guy who we need on the line, because we lost some guys from last year. But one game, I'm not ready to go there. But I think as the preseason goes along, I think if he continues, I'll be like, yeah, I'm in.
If you watched his stuff in college in his sophomore year, you could see a guy who, I don't know how 200 whatever 65 players drafted and everyone passes on that guy. It just blows my mind how, when a guy like we drafted last year, Marty's favorite, Zach Kuntz, who really came through with a beauty.
Right, that's right. By the way, speaking of Zach Kuntz, I want to point out he didn't really impress me, and I'm talking about Malachi Corley, but he made one of the most athletic plays.
That was an amazing play.
Zach Kuntz passes right in his numbers, whatever, caught it, bobbled it, and Malachi Corley had the wherewithal. He's like a foot away from him. He bends down and like his knuckles are touching the ground. It was such a great play.
It was amazing.
It was an amazing play. And I just hope that that's is going to be a reflection of what we're going to see from this guy, because I didn't think he impressed me at all. There was a punt return, there was something else. I wasn't crazy at what he saw. He caught a couple of passes, but that was an unbelievable play.
It was. His kickoff return was decent. Right. A punt return, I don't even care about, because he's not going to be a punt returner. I don't know why they even tried that, but I guess they'd give it a shot. Yeah, Corley, I'm certainly not drinking Kool-Aid on Corley yet. I didn't even put him on there, but he's got a long ways to go to prove anything to me. I think we all wanted other wide receivers at that point.
Obviously, he's drank a lot of the Kool-Aid, because we hear it
yeah.
every day.
But I think the Zach Kuntz, Are they going to please just get rid of this guy? I mean, he gets one pass right in his chest, and he never even was able to keep possession of it. It was embarrassing.
By the way, a couple of notes. Isaiah Davis, he had a couple of nice pass receptions, the other running back, but he did not call for a fair catch, which was stupid. They were right in his face. I mentioned Leonard Taylor had a nice sack at the end.
He had a couple of tackles for loss earlier too, one or two.
Stickers, I think, had 2 tackles for losses. He looked pretty good on one play, looked great. And it's still, they're up to their old trick. I don't know if it's Hackett or what. 3rd and 1. I don't know why they have an empty backfield. I'll never understand that. It's just like they're taking some of the guessing game out of it. And
maybe they don't want to show anything in preseason, right?
Yeah, I actually thought that the 2 backups for Washington, Driscoll and Hartman, looked pretty good.
Well, Hartman was a guy I remember when we were doing the draft. I said I felt like this could be this year's Brock Purdy. I remember we asked Ray about that because he's the Notre Dame guy. Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty good, but our guys looked pretty good too. So I didn't feel badly about not getting Hartman.
They not only did they look good, and just so you know, Denver won their preseason game. Zach Wilson was 10 for 13, 117 yards. So I hope all those Denver fans get sucked into his preseason prowess like we did on his rookie year.
Well, I think he's still 3rd on the depth chart behind.
Bo Nix is going to be the starter. He looked really good today.
10 of 13 in the 4th quarter against the guys who will never see the field.
Well, he's got that 4 years, 33 years of experience, but he should be able to do that.
I was going to say, and look, you may never see Andrew Peasley or Adrian Martinez again, but I'm telling you, it was so nice seeing a quarterback able to look at one receiver, then check off, look at another receiver, and not to have happy feet. It's unbelievable that we have 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are better than Zach Wilson to me. It's just amazing. It really is.
When is the Jet fans going to stop talking about Zach Wilson? What a traumatic thing. You got me thinking Gonzalez. Adrian Martinez, he's actually had similar numbers in college to one of Marty's favorite players, Brad Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And although I think Martinez is a better passer than Smith was. Smith was a gadget player. I think this guy wants to be a quarterback, and I don't know what his future is with the Jets, but I'm intrigued, I have to say.
Yes, I think it's in a good spot for both teams. Ralph, I'm going to turn this over to you because 2 of the passes by Adrian Martinez went into the hands of one Brandon Smith. And then earlier today, you had sent Ray and myself a video of his 50 best catches.
At Iowa,
Yeah, apparently he's an undrafted free agent that Dallas got. And then I guess he ended up on Arizona and they let him go and the Jets picked him up.
Yeah, he didn't catch on with either of those teams the last couple of years. I think he was in the XFL, actually. Martinez actually knew of him. They didn't play together, but they knew each other and they got comfortable with each other apparently in the practices. When did they pick him up? How long ago? Wasn't even aware of it.
I think it was fairly recently. I thought they were dated August 2nd, 2024. I couldn't believe it.
Right. So Brandon Smith is about 6'1.5", 215, physical, good. He's strong. Comes out of Mississippi. I guess Kirk Ferentz was scouting someone else and he happened to notice him, how that works. And he recruited him. And this guy was a high school state high jump champion. And if you watch his clips, he makes some circus catches where he jumps over guys. That quarterback was underthrowing all year in some of those passes. This guy Stanley, I don't know if you saw him, Ray. Iowa's not one of those schools that's really known for their passing game. He didn't have a huge amount of receptions over his years, but the guy is physical, and the guy on 50-50 balls is about 75-25. Because he can jump, and I don't know what, I just want the Jets to give him a fair chance.
Right, yes, I agree. And Ralph, I think I tried to really do a deep dive. When he was in high school, he was the team punter.
Was he?
Yeah, I believe he was, which is interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, some guys, they just, when the lights go on, they find a way. And, you know, he may be just one of these guys that, you know, you wonder why. Well, okay, why didn't he get drafted? Pretty simple. He ran a 4.62 at the combine.
Right.
And you know, I'm going to give you some numbers. The two statistically greatest wide receivers in the history of football, Jerry Rice and Larry Fitzgerald. Rice ran a 4.71 and Fitzgerald ran a 4.63. Anquan Bolden, another guy who's probably a Hall of
Wait a
Famer.
minute. Is that right? Jerry Rice, he ran a 4.71?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I have gone through, when I first saw that years ago, I kept trying to confirm it by other.
Yeah.
Go check it out. Anquan Bolden had a 4.71 as well.
Right, and Brandon Smith ran 4.62, you say?
Yeah, Jarvis Landry 4.77. You know, and I remember reading interviews with people who talked about Jerry Rice's, and you know, they basically said there's track speed and there's football speed. They said you put a football in Jerry Rice's hand, and he's a lot faster. And you know, the one thing watching, you know, tape of Brandon Smith that I saw is, yeah, he didn't get a lot of separation, but some of that might have been because the quarterback kept underthrowing. But you know, that was actually a knock on Roma Dunza. A lot of people said he doesn't get separation. Well,
Yes.
I don't know what the word is from Chicago, how he's doing there, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Anyway, like I said before, I just want the Jets to give him a fair chance. I don't want them to one of these guys like in the revolving door of signing and dropping guys 3 days later. You know, guys like Brownlee and Irv Charles, who they've invested a couple of years in, and they're comfortable with. You know, I don't want it to be like, well, we know these guys and we don't know this guy,
Right.
so let him go. I want him to get a real good shot in the next 2 games, and if he keeps producing, I'd like to see them keep him, maybe put him on the practice squad or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, they could probably hide him on the practice squad.
Yeah, I think they might
like
be
that.
able to. Yeah,
You couldn't do that with Adrian Martinez. You know, I don't think.
probably. Yeah, that's
I don't
Maybe.
think you're gonna see these quarterbacks starting to go down.
Well, you know, he was the MVP in the XFL, which just ended. And I saw someone ask him saying, did you get approached by a lot of teams after the season? He said, I got some interest. Yeah. So other teams, I think it's, you know, it's a matter if a quarterback gets injured, then yeah.
Well, let's see. There are a lot of different things they could do. Ray, I know you didn't see a lot of the game, but I don't know if you saw the Brandon Smith. Any thoughts on him?
No, and I do remember him at Iowa, but I
Oh, yeah.
didn't see a lot of Iowa games, so I didn't get to, you know, nothing when I was watching, you know, jumped off the screen at me. But you know, wide receiver used to be before it blew up like it has, you know, because they're all because we're more of a passing league and everything. Used to be you could pick up a great wide receiver in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, if not undrafted. I mean, there are several top end wide receivers over the years that never got drafted. So it doesn't surprise me. I would like to see him get a fair shot, like you said, because, you know, you never know where that guy's going to show up that can make big plays at big times. And you just, you know, you don't see it on tape. So you're just assuming he's not going to be the one.
Watch him end up on the Chiefs.
Or the Dolphins, but
worst nightmare.
Yeah, it must be really frustrating for a lot of athletes who know they can play, but for some reason the numbers don't work. They just don't get the opportunity.
You aren't in the right system.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, your system that fits them, and all of a sudden they're all world. As far as Adrian Martinez, I'd like to keep him. I was thinking about it before we got on the show. As like, I know Peasley had good numbers and everything, but I don't get the feeling that Peasley's all that mobile. And I think if you're throwing your 3rd stringer in there, he probably needs to be able to move around. He is
mobile, but he's not like Martinez.
No.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
when I watched a lot of film with him in college, his mobility was maybe on Zach Wilson's level, not you know, Martinez is, right. You know, the different level.
Martinez is dangerous.
Yeah.
He's a different player.
Yeah, well, when he got recruited, when he entered Nebraska, he was the first quarterback in Nebraska's history to start as a true freshman opening game. And they thought he was going to be like the savior of the program, but the program was just falling
Terrible.
apart.
It's never.
He had a good freshman year, and then it was just up and down. He ended up transferring, I think, to Kansas State. Played 5 years. Everyone seems to play 5 years now in
Well, to the
college.
COVID era, they
Yeah,
played 5 or
yeah.
6, yeah. So,
The last thing was to me, and I've said this for years. I don't put any emphasis on how they run a 40 because that is the worst stat that everybody pays attention to in the combine. I'm like, you're in shorts and a t-shirt and you want to say he's blazing fast. Well, throw some pads on him and
Make him zigzag a
yeah,
little and stop and
yeah.
start.
They can try and fight his way off the line of scrimmage and
Yeah.
see this.
I
So that's the most
yeah.
worthless stat, and they all look at it.
I kind of relate that to, I used to talk to baseball scouts, and some of these scouts, they wouldn't look at a prospect if he didn't throw 90. And I thought it was the biggest mistake. I used to say, what about Greg Maddux, you know?
Yeah.
You know, they'd look at me like, what am I talking about? But I agree with you, Ray, 100%. Hey, listen, I stuck something in there. I first I was calling it hit or stick, but it's actually going to be either or. I know it's early in the year, but let's just have a little fun with it. I'll start with Ray. I'm going to name 2 players, and just tell me who do you want them to keep? You ready?
Yep.
Either or. Brandon Echols or Jarek Bernard-Converse?
Hopefully Converse will continue to improve and show he belongs, and that I'd say him.
Okay. How about you, Ralph?
Yeah, I'd rather I want to get rid of Eccles because he's got off the field issues. He gets stupid penalties. I've really gotten tired of him.
Okay. No, I agree. All right, Ralph, I'll start with you next. Just talking about him. Malik Taylor or Brandon Smith?
Wow. I hope Brandon Smith because I think he's got more upside, but I can't see him bumping Malik Taylor. He's a Rodgers guy and whatever.
All right. How about you, Ray?
I don't know enough about Brandon. I mean, I know we've seen a Brandon Smith, but if he isn't sticking with other teams, I don't know if he fits our system either. I'll go with Malik Taylor for now anyway.
All right, I'll go with Brandon Smith, but I think the scenario is that Malik Taylor probably sneaks onto the 53 and Smith goes onto the practice squad. All right, Ray, here we go.
Wait a minute. What was yours on the first one?
Mine was Jarek Bernard-Converse.
Okay.
That's it. All right, Ray, you're gonna do the last one first. Adrian Martinez or Andrew Peasley?
Martinez.
Ralph?
Now you're asking who we think will stick or who we'd like to.
Who you want to?
Who I want to. That's a tough one because Martinez, the one knock on him was that he had somewhat accuracy issues, but he threw two dimes.
Actually, 3. I told you the other guy.
Right. Yeah. I think I'd go with a guy with a more upside, which would be Martinez.
Okay, there we go. All right, we're going to close this out. We did the trivia question and answers. Ralph, you have my favorite item on the agenda. It's who do you take? This feature, which you started, which is great.
Who do I take? Yeah, we picked 2 former Jets who usually play the same position and had, relatively similar careers, production-wise. And in this one, we got 2 cornerbacks, one of whom I think his last year was this guy, the other guy's rookie year, and then one of them moved on to the Kansas City Chiefs. We're talking about James Hasty and Aaron Glenn, who as Jets, I'll give you some numbers. Aaron Glenn played 8 years for the Jets, had 24 picks. Hasty played 7 years for the Jets, had 24 picks. And the yardage returns were pretty similar. I think Glenn had a couple more touchdowns. So who do you take on those 2?
I'll go first. Aaron Glenn, I would take just because of his was it the interception?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah,
it's 101 yards.
Well, I think 103. Yeah,
103 is one
the one at the end of the half thing.
Yeah,
one of the greatest plays in Jet history. So I'll go. That's a tough one. I'll go with Aaron Glenn. Go ahead, Ray.
It is a tough one, but I just liked Aaron a lot. I think he just was at the time, I didn't know if we'd ever get a better DB than that. Then Revis came along, but yeah, I liked Aaron.
You know, Hasty, I guess he was a free agent. He played at Kansas City and he did really well there. He made a couple of Pro Bowls. It would have been nice if they would have kept them both for a few years. That
Right.
would have been a nice tandem. And I think that would have gone into the Parcells years. That would have been really nice.
Right, and as we know, Aaron Glenn right now is doing a really good job as the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Whenever there's an interview, he's going to get a head coaching job.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he owes it all to Bill Parcells because he approached Bill Parcells when he wanted to get into coaching. And Parcells convinced him, I want you to be a scout for 2 years. He goes, no, I want to coach. He says, I want you to be a scout for 2 years. And he started as a scout on the bottom, and he's worked his way up, and he's doing a great job. So that's a great one, Ralph. I like that. Is there another one, or is that we're going to close?
No, that's it for now.
All right,
Don't want to shoot our bolt here this early in the season.
Hey, I had one question before you close it out.
Sure.
And like I said, I didn't get to see much of hardly any of the game. Did you see any of the kickoff? I just wondered with the new kickoff rule.
I didn't pay much attention to it yet. It's pretty interesting because the kicker starts way far back.
Yeah, he starts, I think, from where he did before.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess the rule is they can't move till the guy has possession.
Right. Where are they lined up? Around the 50 or
40
something?
of the other team.
40 of the other team.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting. Again, it's an eyesore. It's something that you have to get used to. You know what I mean? It just looks so odd, but
Yeah.
look, it's for the good of the game. And
Yeah, I mean that they had to do something.
Were they
That other
trying to-
kickoff.
Were they trying to drop it in there, or were they just booting it away? And
no, they're trying to drop it in there. Well, I think one of the Jets kicks went out, so the team got on the 40. Is that it? 40?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 40.
Yeah, whatever it is. But it's a matter of getting used to, too.
Yeah.
And listen, the Jets special teams coach, what's his name?
Boyer.
Brett
Boyer, who we all like. I'm sure he's been up like, 24 hours a day, going through this about different scenarios. I guess the XFL started it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think something like
Similar.
that.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's exactly the same, but I think it's pretty similar.
Yeah, whatever it is. So I'm sure he reviewed every kickoff in the XFL. So we'll see how it goes. It's definitely going to be interesting. And again, it's something you have to get used to.
It can't be worse than what it was before. Oh,
No,
that was
no,
just brutal.
That's it. So, all right, with that, we're going to close it out for Ray Clifford in Ohio, Ralph Schrager in Massachusetts, Marty Schupak in New York. Next week could be a tough week. I'm going to be away, so we'll have to play it by ear. So for all of us at Jets Rewind, until next time.